Can you find the best move for white in this position? Believe it or not, I showed this position to 4 people in my Discord server and not a single one of them got it correct. And what I've realized is it comes down to people not understanding the minority attack, because there is an obvious move in this position where once you know this, once you learn this concept, you will play it every single time. Now, in order to understand what the best move in this position is, first we need to strip away all of these major pieces, and I'm going to show you guys the Carlsbad structure. Now, before we continue, I want to say if you do learn something from this video, give it a like, give it a subscribe to the channel, and I have chess coaching, which I will put in the description below. Now, why is the Carlsbad structure so important? Well, this structure here, what we notice we have 2 pawns against 3. Now, this is a very common structure, and I'm willing to bet, leave it in the comments below if this applies to you, but I'm willing to bet that every single person watching this video has encountered this pawn structure at least one time, because this pawn structure comes out of a million different openings. It is very common. It comes out of the Queen's Gambit and many others. Now, this pawn structure is important because since it's so common, we need to understand how to actually beat this pawn structure, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know in this video. Now, many people look at these 2 pawns and they think of, okay, with 3 on 2, I need to keep these 2 pawns here because they're defensive, right? Like, if they ever push these pawns, I want to be able to use these pawns to stop them. But that's the wrong way to think, because you actually want to get rid of your weakness of these 2 pawns and create weaknesses on their side of the board. You're going to force isolated pawns or backwards pawns by using these 2. Now, in order to show this concept, I'll first show the first move you would play in this position to achieve the minority attack, which is this move b4. And once they play some kind of random move, the idea is that you would play a4, and all of a sudden, you have these 2 pawns that are threatening to kind of go up here and mess up their structure. Now, to illustrate this a little better, I'm going to remove this side of the board here and kind of zoom in on this pawn structure. Now, I don't want you guys to focus on this position specifically, because I'm not trying to illustrate who's winning, is white winning, is black winning. I want you guys to just zoom in on this pawn structure that we have here so you can kind of visualize how this might apply to your own games. Now, if we reach this position, what is the move we play? The minority attack all relates to this move b5. Now, what does b5 do? They can't push the pawn because you would just simply take it, right? So they have to either take your pawn or make a waiting move. Now, first, let's look at what happens if they make a waiting move. Well, then, of course, you will capture, and now this pawn becomes a backwards pawn, which is a target. And remember, targets are what attacking chess is all about. The more targets you can create on their side of the board, the more attacks you'll have and the more successful your attacks will be. Additionally, this pawn right here is also an isolated pawn that will also be a target. So if we go back just a second ago, their structure was really solid, and now their structure has 2 targets in it. Now, if they instead decide to capture, well, you capture back, and this pawn is also an isolated pawn. They no longer have a pawn covering it, and additionally, this pawn will also be an attacking strength against these 2, because either they will trade it off and they'll have 2 isolated pawns, or they'll play a waiting move to kind of stop you, which means that one pawn is stopping these 2 pawns from ever advancing, because of course, if they ever played some kind of random move like here, you can always en passant, so your pawn will stop 2 pawns together. Now, before we go back to the main example, there is something I want to cover. What if they have this position, like a6 is played? You might think this stops your minority attack, because again, the whole idea of the minority attack is to destroy their structure, so they may play a move like a6 to think, okay, now he can never play b5. But believe it or not, b5 is still the correct answer in this position. Now, a better way to illustrate this is, first of all, b4 is always the first move when we go back into this position. We go back all the way, b4 is always what you want to play first. But if they have this move played, that's when you play the move a4, because a4 now allows us to play this move b5. Now, when they capture, yes, they want a pawn, but now they have 3 isolated pawns, or well, 2. We have doubled pawns and an isolated pawn. These are 3 targets. You are guaranteed to win these, and when you do, assuming you have your pieces coordinated well, and when you do, you now have a great attack, and they're going to spend a ton of time just to defend these 3 pawns. So this is why you want to go down this structure. You want to mess up their structure, because if we go all the way back to the beginning, you will see how their structure was great and now it's ruined. But now, let's apply this. Let's apply this concept to the main position. Let's go all the way back. All the pieces are back on the board. Let's understand why the move b4 is the only winning move. Or not the only winning move, but the best move in the position. b4 is the best move in the position because, as we said, if they make a waiting move, what is the whole concept of the minority attack? Now, first of all, The minority attack is extra strong when you have pieces supporting it. That's the whole goal. You want to have your pieces coordinated to support this minority attack, because when they make a waiting move, now we play here. Now black notices, well, we have all these defenders. Let's first remove one of their defenders so they take our knight. But it doesn't really matter, because now, again, they're in a tough situation. What do they play? Do they ignore our attack? Well, again, we know that's wrong, because now we take and they have a backwards pawn that we are ready to capture on the next move. So, and of course, also our rook is now on an open file, and we just have a ton of attacking opportunities. So instead, they capture here. But now, after the rook captures back, we are now targeting this pawn, and we're targeting here. So we're going to start adding pressure. Meanwhile, we look back, their position was solid, their structure was solid, but now we have the initiative, we are attacking, and we have attacking targets. So let's go back a little bit, because I first showed why they have to deal with b5. So let's say they deal with b5 by playing the move a6. Now, what did I just say a second ago? When they play a6 to stop the minority attack, you continue with a4, because you're threatening now to play here. And now that we have a real example, allow me to show you guys something. First, let's say they trade off again. They want to stop us from playing this move. But now let me show you why they're in trouble. Because what can they play? They know b4, b5 is still coming. So if they play a move like here, the problem is this pawn hangs, and of course knight e5 can come in, so they can never just play a move like that. Again, even if our queen could not capture, knight e5 would have been great to attack the backwards pawn, because this is backwards and this one is as well now. So they can't play there. If they go a5 to try and attack you and create some counter threats, well, of course, we can still play b5. Of course, the engine actually wants here because it's a free pawn, but ignore that. If we still play b5, they can't even take here, because now our rook captures and we're attacking all of these pawns. Their structure is terrible. So no matter what they play, and of course if they make a waiting move, we still just strike with b5. No matter what, we strike with b5. Again, ignore what the engine is saying right here, because we're just showing you the principles of this position, not necessarily the specifics. Again, if they capture now, we take, and of course the rook captures. And again, the whole point of this video is to show you guys how those two pawns, if we go all the way back, these two pawns are actually a strength. They can destroy your opponent's position by simply removing their strengths. Like, they think their pawn chain is so strong, and you're going to show them how these two tiny little pawns will ruin their game and allow you to have attacking opportunities. I hope this covered the minority attack for you. I hope you learned something from this video. It's a complicated concept that's actually very simple to understand once you do. It's all about creating isolated pawns and backwards pawns in your opponent's side of the board. If you enjoyed something from this video, if you liked it, please give it a like. It would help kind of promote the video. Leave a comment for the algorithm, and let me know what you guys would like to see in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching.